We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Stephen Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This week, we're talking about preparing for the 2025 real estate price adjustment / reduction that I believe is inevitable now. There's all kinds of reports of new builders that are publicly traded that build new subdivisions, brand new houses. They're all over Phoenix and they're all over the Southwest where Jill and I live and spend time. And they're reporting not good sales and a lot of concessions. In fact, if you kind of check the news, it's not in the forefront of the news, I've noticed, but it's in there. It's in the news and it's not the best news. So I think it doesn't make for a great media story.
Yep.
Or a good media story.
Do you remember Roberto in California?
Yeah.
The first, I just was on Facebook last night and it came up on my little feed that Roberto is marketing, because he's a real estate agent in Tennessee now, a big major townhouse complex where they built out like 10% of it and now they're selling the other 90%. I'm not kidding. And it's like in different phases of being done. And they're selling the whole thing for like $6.5 million. I'm like, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. They started it. It's not going that well. They're just going to try to dump it and get out.
I track the data and all this stuff all the time, specifically what pertains to our business, buying and selling land and buying, selling, reselling houses and all of that. And it's everywhere in the data. It's now coming out in the media and examples of just like what Jill's talking about. So this week, we're going to talk about all 5 days, 5 different topics about how you can prepare, how we're preparing, and how you can prepare to make some money on this thing next year.
This is not our first time. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, the sky is falling. It's coming. It's going to be over. What do I do?
One of the things
you can pivot. You'll be all right.
I would love for you to do, I don't care if you're new or old in the real estate sector or in this space, is ask somebody or ask yourself, during the last downturn, which was around 2010-ish, probably technically between 2007 and 2012, ask yourself or ask somebody else if they or you bought enough real estate during the downturn, and everybody's going to say no.
Nope.
We should have bought every single thing in sight.
Yeah.
So that's the theme here.
Mm-hmm.
How and where are we going to buy property next year to capitalize on this downturn? We'll talk about this in great detail all through the week. This is not a crash. I don't believe that anything's going to like what happened last time where there's massive reductions in value and equity and foreclosures and just a horror. Just blood in the streets scenario is not going to happen this time. What I really believe we're going to experience is a market adjustment. It's kind of the way that the stock market adjusts itself. When it gets too high or too low, we'll experience 20 to 30% in some markets, maybe even 40%. So what does that mean on a $300,000 house or a $400,000 house? In extreme cases, it'll come back down to $300,000. On a $1 million house, you'll see it come down to around $800,000. And it'll really dramatically affect things like what Jill just described, new construction. There's going to be a lot of people that are in the middle, the houses with dumpsters out in front of them. This is not good for them. When they complete these houses in 2025 and get them ready to resell, the rehabbers, which is not us. We don't, If you're brand new to this, we don't rehab anything. All we do is buy assets and resell them. We buy them as cheap as we can and just resell them. And the rehabbers are going to kind of get caught with their pants down here, if I can say that.
Blood in the streets, caught with your pants down. What else have I got today already?
I don't know. You like it? I'll keep going.
No, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay. It's not for me.
This is Jill. Jill saying you're embarrassing yourself, not me.
No, it's fine.
Today's specific topic this is step 1, and we're going to run through step 1 through 5. Step 1 is to get and establish a source of education, and it's imperative that you get a source of data so that you're not guessing. We don't guess here. We don't guess about anything in real estate. We have a theory, we back it up by data, and then we act on it. So today we'll talk about data and education. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, step 2, we'll talk about securing a source of capital. This is also imperative. In fact, all of these steps are. If you don't have a stockpile of money and investors that you know on a first name basis and who trust you, you're going to run out of money after the first or second deal. If you're buying $300,000 houses and prepping to resell them when it's over for $400,000, I don't know about you, but even us, we would run out of money pretty quickly doing that. On Wednesday, step 3, we'll talk about analyzing local markets and what Jill calls driving for dumpsters.
Thank you.
We all know, hopefully by now, that driving for dollars is maybe
Proud of that one.
the biggest waste of time in real estate ever. Driving for dumpsters, theoretically, is not.
I'm going to take credit for that. I'm going to take credit for the data as a new bacon. I got that one a couple years ago.
There's huge variances in local markets, and we use zip codes for that. So there could be two. Jill and I, just before we sat down here, looked at 2 adjacent zip codes and wildly different statistics.
Yeah.
Just wildly different. One's great for doing what we do. One's absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. On Thursday, step 4, establish deal flow. Nothing's going to happen at any point in your real estate career unless you have a pipeline jammed full of 10 or 20 acquisition opportunities, bare minimum. I'd rather see it at 30 or 40. So you make the best choices. And then finally on Friday, execute. You need to get ready. If you're already involved in real estate and have been for years or decades like us, it's not hard for us to flip the switch on or off about the decision, are we going to buy it or not? And then growing your staff. I saved the hardest for last.
Yay.
Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum and take a deep dive into land-related topics by popular request.
Okay. Brenton wrote, "Hi, everyone. How do you approach pricing in zip codes where price per acres vary significantly? I've noticed that price per acres tend to be more consistent with certain clusters, but are quite different across the entire zip code. To improve my pricing accuracy, I sorted my mailer data by high school and identified which high school zone my comps were in. Fortunately, there are multiple high schools within the zip code, which made it easier to refine my pricing.
Excellent.
Are there any other strategies that you use to break down a zip code into smaller areas for more accurate pricing? I also noticed in one area, price per acre actually increased as the acreage increased. Has anyone else encountered this? Would you price accordingly, or would you price all properties based on the lower price per acre? Thank you all for any help."
So as I've said many, this is a very good question. As
Yeah,
I said
question.
many times, there's art and science to pricing land. And the older I get, the more art I think there is and the less science. Once you get the basic technical skills down, to price a mailer, you're going to start to have thoughts like this. So visualize this with me. Visualize opening Google Earth or anywhere, or Google Maps, or anywhere that you can use a scalable application on the internet to look at geography. So you open it and there's the United States. Then you pick a state. Let's pick Texas. So you zoom into Texas, you zoom into the counties, then you zoom into the zip codes. So you're going closer and closer and closer to, let's say, the DFW area. And this is where the difficulty starts. DFW's got, I can't imagine how many zip codes. And I can't imagine how different, like we just said a few minutes ago, how different those zip codes are from a pricing standpoint and a product quality, or a product, some houses are more expensive, some are less. Same thing with land. So for years, for decades actually, people have joined Land Academy and asked this type of question. This one happens to be written in very intelligently. And it made sense to Brenton here to isolate product type within a high school district.
That was smart.
Yeah. You can do it that way. You can do it through range township. You can do it through census tract. And you can do what I call ultimately APN scheme pricing. So you take the APN scheme and you price it together. It all is trying to solve for like kind pricing. So if you take a zip code and you scrape the internet, or however you choose to download data from the internet about active sales and completed sales, you're going to have ultimately always a bell curve. You're going to have outliers that are real expensive price per acre and outliers that are real cheap. And you have to, this is where the art comes in. make those choices. And I choose to address it at the end of my mailer. But I love this concept. Brenton, if you're brand new to this and you're learning, I think that you're biting off a little bit more than you probably can chew in the beginning, because zip code pricing for the rest of us, taking the bottom of the bottom average for zip code pricing for land is going to get you where you need to be. It's going to get that pipeline of acquisition opportunities full.
So that answers his part two there. When the pricing increased, the acreage increased, how would you mail it? With a lower, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain this on the radio here like this without a visual, but a 40-acre property, when you price it as price per acre, always sells cheaper price per acre basis than a half-acre property. That's just the way it is. It's the bottle, in economics, it's the bottle case theory.
Mm-hmm.
A bottle of beer is more expensive than a case.
So I wonder why this one area had increased. There was something going on there, or one or two properties were skewing it. Yep. That could be. There's some other reason usually.
Jill and I are invested in and heavily involved in smaller rural communities. And there's always somebody who somebody built a palace and sold it for $40 million, or some crazy number. And the rest of the properties sell for $500,000 or $600,000. So it really messes with statistically with averages and means and all of that. You got to get those out of there somehow, or you're going to you will almost always overstate. You will price your mailer too high. That's always been my big gripe with auto pricing applications and AI. They don't take into consideration those things.
I thought it was very sweet you brought up the radio today.
The radio?
Yeah. Do cars nowadays even have a radio?
I just ordered. You don't know this. I just ordered.
I'm like...
An original. Jill and I have an old Volkswagen bus. And I just ordered...
It's with a broken radio.
An AM radio on eBay out of an actual AM radio from the early 70s.
That's
so
great.
I don't know if cars have radios, Jill. Probably not.
Okay. I was just curious.
I mean, I think they have them, but you clearly don't use them.
No, you really don't.
Do you even drive your own car anymore?
Yeah, of course I do. Mike, I don't have a self-driving car, if that's what you're asking. I don't think I'll ever have a self-driving car. I mean, I should knock on something now, but I am not comfortable with that. So kind of over my line a little bit.
Today's topic, how are we prepping for the inevitable 2025 real estate market adjustment? Step 1, we establish a source of education and data. So for us, establishing a source of education is a little bit behind us. We are the source of education, but we're not the only source. I use Atom data and Realty Track to see what tragedy is happening where, and how we can potentially capitalize it from a foreclosure standpoint and everything else. So you need to go around the internet and choose the applications and the places for education that make sense to you. We also use Reonomy.
Are you talking education or data or both?
Education. If you are real serious about capitalizing on this market in 2025, Land Academy is a great source of education for you. This is all we talk about.
Right.
But it shouldn't be the only source of education. And certainly there are other sources of data that you need. Like we are licensed providers for DataTree. I can't imagine our real estate life
without
DataTree.
Nope.
DataTree is an aggregator of all taxing municipalities, all 3,144 counties or taxing municipalities and their assessor rolls. It's the most comprehensive source of data that I know of to send out mailers and to do market research when they come back.
Mm-hmm.
So you need DataTree. Well, we provide it at at an aggregate cost, so it's much cheaper. I'm not selling anything here. I'm just saying there's no way you're going to make a bunch of money in real estate without data. Correct. Next year.
And don't buy secondhand data.
Yeah.
Don't buy a list. You never want an easy button and you never want a list. You want to go get it and you want to pull what you want to pull. And you want all of it. You just don't want the 10 columns that someone thinks you need.
When I say source of education, I mean, surround yourself with people that have already been successful with this. Good. So you can get all the data in the world and cram as hard as you can for the next 30 to 60 days before the market actually starts to adjust itself. But if you can't come to somebody in a group somewhere, or let's say it's your rich Uncle Skelton, and say, should I be doing this deal? You're going to make some serious mistakes, and you don't want that. So make sure you're in an environment where people are succeeding and doing the same thing that you are. See what data they're using. See how they do it.
It's good. Totally agree.
Reonomy's good. Data trees is essential. Realty Track, not sure I could live without it. And Prop Stream is becoming ever more.
And there's going to be a new one in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't. So some of the things, though, it does scare me. Just be careful you don't do easy buttons. You know, what's funny is CoreLogic for a while had list source. I think it stopped. I think it's gone because we all were smart and we weren't using it as we shouldn't, and getting our own data and just, finessing it to how we want.
Yeah, CoreLogic is the API behind ParcelFact, which Jill and I had designed and we own and operate. And ParcelFact is the fastest way that I know of to get an answer about whether or not I'm going to travel down the path with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
So you send a bunch of mail out, an offer comes back, or you have a conversation with the seller, you analyze it, and you need a place to look at very quickly, decide if it's in the right stratosphere, if you need to adjust it. And ParcelFact does that.
How much time do you think someone should spend being educated? I have a number.
6 months.
That's what I was going to say. That's hilarious. I think that's a really good number.
6
months of following, watching,
studying.
diving in, reading everything you can, analyzing someone else's deals, and figuring out how they made those decisions. I agree with that. Totally. And understanding the data. And so you can go off and find your own area. You never want to, totally mirror that person because they've already hit that area. You want to learn what they do, what triggers they look for, and then go find your own.
You're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Even if you're already in real estate. We have people in our group that are seasoned real estate agents, which is more and more and more becoming, it's difficult to keep food on the table being a real estate agent unless you have some special kind of mental problem. So we have a lot of people in our group wanting to change over from being primarily a real estate agent to an investor, which I think is amazing. And I love these types of people because they always come to us with a different vision. And I mean that as with a compliment. And so data has not been really a part of their life. So even if you've been in the industry for a long time, for whatever version that is, maybe you're even a developer, most people come to us not understanding that there's all this data out there to help you
so scary too.
To help you stop making any negative decisions. Or if you do make a bad decision, you can go back and look at the data and say, oh, well, geez, that's why I made the decision. This zip code is a disaster. I should never have been trying to do a real estate deal in the first place. So this requires an open mind, and that's part of the education process of changing, cutting yourself down to size. And only you can do that. And relearning some of these things because there are so many applications and so many sources of information and education out there that'll make you a better investor. It all requires a real open mind.
Totally.
And a partner. I would heavily recommend getting a partner who wants to do stuff.
A data partner.
Or a talking partner.
Thank you.
Join us tomorrow, Tuesday, where we talk about step 2 here for prepping for the changes in the 2025 real estate market. And we'll talk about securing equity as a source of capital, not debt. You are not alone in your real estate ambition.
We are Jack and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.